This is our video for high leverage practices. Our practice was providing oral and written feedback to students in their work, and this is our growth and competency and our evidence.
As soon as we found out we were going to be on a team working on this HLP of written and oral feedback, we decided that we should meet every Wednesday to discuss what we had done in the last week individually for at least 30 minutes. During some of these meetings, we researched what feedback really is and all the aspects of feedback. We thought we should research how to give feedback, when to give the feedback, and how much feedback is appropriate. Google was our main search tool, and we attempted the NCTM and NCTE, but we were still unsuccessful with that. We asked our methods professors and our cooperating teachers separately about their opinions on feedback and also for advice on how to improve ourselves. Then during our meetings, we shared what we had learned. We also thought that students were a great source of information on feedback since our goal was to give it to them. All of our practice was individual, but when we met, we reflected on it and then discussed how our feedback was. Since both of us are studying to be middle grades, language arts, and math teachers, our pairing was perfect because we could see both ways to give students feedback in both content areas.
We have learned to work with one another to collaborate about giving feedback to our students. Since we were in the same class, being able to compare our feedback to each other was a great way to feel more confident that we were picking up on the right ways to give it. We found that in the beginning of the semester when we first started, it was harder to find things to give feedback on. We were afraid to hurt someone's feelings or think something was good when it wasn't. But now, after about 14 weeks of practice, it almost comes natural. We learned ways to always have something to say, even if that way is something extremely generic, to help others improve their work or to feel confident about their work. Together, we grew to better understand what feedback really is. The amount of feedback is important, and it should be symmetrical. Don't give 5 improvement areas and 1 positive, or vice versa. We learned ways to make the improvement areas sound positive so we didn't wilt the flower as it was growing. Our growth towards giving written feedback, in our opinion, was increased significantly, and our knowledge of this HLP as well. However, we do feel that our growth towards oral feedback was minimal, and our hopes are to grow more competent in this type of feedback through student teaching. Most of our evidence is from NKU classes, which did give us the experience with giving feedback, but we found that it was harder to give feedback to students in the classroom since our cooperating teachers didn't let us do much grading. We may not have gotten much practice in our practicum like we had hoped, but we still grew better at giving feedback, and our hopes are this will lead to confidence from the start with our students.
We believe we learned a great deal about giving appropriate feedback. When we started, we had no idea what feedback would entail. A simple good job was as much as we had done before. Feedback is so much more than that, though. It's about giving students areas of their strengths and areas of improvement to keep them moving to their own goals or our goals for them. We also didn't realize there is a time and place for private feedback and also for public feedback. Public feedback should be reserved for times when a student shows an interesting strategy of solving problems or when students are operating at a level that the teacher wants all students to be operating on. At these times, the teacher may show that strategy to the whole class and explain what they liked. Private feedback should be given when students show personal achievement or struggling on a particular problem or strategy. At these times, the teacher may quietly explain to the teacher what they did well and what they could do better. Interestingly enough, we learned feedback doesn't always have to be formal as well. As we walk around our classroom, we are giving students comments such as "nice work, that's good insight," "so good, so far so good, but maybe a little bit more detail," or "I wonder if you would have approached the problem this way if it would have helped with your confusion." Feedback can be given informally too, and we just wish that we would have been able to make sure that we could have recorded it at some point. Finally, we learned that this is a continual growing process. We may never become perfect at it, but we can always improve and get better. This HLP practice has increased our competency towards the higher leverage practice of giving written and oral feedback to students, and it has also shaped us a little more on how to be an effective teacher.